Welcome to Strength in the Numbers. My name is Andrew Codd, accountant, author, and commercial finance entrepreneur, and it's my job each week to bring you leaders in finance and business and deconstruct with them their real stories, insights, and hard-won lessons into practical advice on the key strengths and qualities you need to remain relevant in accounting and finance today, as well as the steps you can begin to take to elevate the impact you make to have a fun, successful, and rewarding career in accounting and finance. Now let's go over to the show. Hi everyone, our guest today is Brad Eisenhuth, and Brad had so many great insights we actually decided to split it into two episodes, and this is the second part of our interview with Brad, and you can find all the detailed show notes at sitnshow.com/podcast/016. Now, Brad is actually the founder and CEO of The Outperformer, an online career management platform which is dedicated to the accounting and finance community. It provides members with various supports such as webinars, one-to-one consulting, mentors, subject matter experts and others in the community to help accountants and finance professionals to work through their career challenges and decisions. And Brad also does a lot of work with organisations enabling their employers to access best-in-class thinking to deliver better results, all through the power of career development in finance and accounting. The second part of our interview with Brad, we cover a number of different points. Some of the key ones being the one action that differentiates those that progress in their careers from those who don't. Now, Brad also shares the relationship between career success and business partnership, what arm wrestling experiments can teach us about business partnering and collaboration, and also an extremely useful model that he's distilled from analysing top performers in accounting and finance into just these four simple elements that we can all use and leverage to determine what our career sweet spot is. And even just listening to that element of the show will give you tremendous value. And again, you can find where that comes up in the detailed show notes. To find out more about Brad, go to www.theoutperformer.co for more information on career management, planning for the accounting and finance professional. And I'm just really delighted to have Brad on the show. So without further ado, over to Brad and the show.
And one of the things you start to really learn when you watch careers evolve and why certain people have pushed forward in their career, it comes back to the ability for people to appreciate that value and say, well, you know, I'm delivering stuff that matters to another person, and intrinsically, by nature, these other people feel a need or a capacity to support you for doing great things for them. You know, there's an interesting book. I think for anyone that's on the line, it'd be really good to look at this. A guy called Adam Grant wrote a book called Give and Take. Adam Grant's a professor at Wharton, and he looks at all these social behaviours. And what he came up with was that there are three types of people: givers, matchers, and takers. And when you look at givers and matchers, that's probably the majority of our population. 20% of people are givers. They like to support others. It's probably people like you and I, Andy. You know, we're here having a conversation that we actually don't necessarily get a direct return on. We just want to help and want to provide some value to the marketplace. And those types of people exist everywhere, and they're really valuable to have in your team. Matchers by nature, probably 60% of the population. These are people that, you know, you do something for and they feel compelled to do something back. It's that whole idea of, you know, IOU or supporting each other to help, you know, create value within, or this value trading concept. And the final group are the takers. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that takers won't do anything for you, but they'll typically orientate all of their decision making to what's in it for them. And these people, you know, sometimes can be very successful within organizations. They can manipulate and grow their career and take advantage of other people. But often, you know, when it comes to the crunch, they may not help you. And so when we look at this whole idea of, you know, partnership or creating value for others, when we realize that it's not actually about us and it's about other people, we'll see that 80% of the people that we actually deal with would be really, really willing to help us succeed and develop and grow in ways that are important to us if we're clear about that. So there's a relationship between career success or achievement and things that are important to you, and this whole idea of partnership and supporting others around us.
It's like the ultimate win-win, really, isn't it?
Oh, look, it is. It's absolutely. We do a little experiment in some of our workshops, and it relates to arm wrestling. If I sit down and I say to you, Andy, you know, you and a friend, let's arm wrestle. You know, I want you to have an arm wrestle. But what I'm going to do, and the whole group gets together, and we say, look, you know, you've got 30 seconds, and the objective is to see how many games of arm wrestling you can play. Now, what happens with most people is their instincts say, we're arm wrestling, let's go and put a lot of pressure against each other, and usually the stronger person of the two wins a few games. But the objective of the game isn't to win the arm wrestle, is actually to play as many games as possible. And what we're not listening to in business is we're not listening to the objective typically. We're not saying, actually, what the real objective is not to battle with each other. It's actually to aim for something a little bit greater. And what a smart person does at the start of that game is they sit there to their opponent and they say, hey, we've got to win as many games. Let's just go really easy on each other and move our arms really quickly, and we can knock off in 30 seconds, maybe 20 or 30 completion of game. And this is where it comes down to this idea of partnership, is really understanding the objective and getting the other person to genuinely partner with you and help you achieve what the overall objective is for our business, and be aligned on that, as opposed to battling against each other and I guess thinking in old ways.
Spoken a bit in the past about collaboration. Is that really where it's at for us now going forward into the future? Or is there perhaps another area we should be looking at? What I'm trying to think of, Brad, is, if we were to look ahead for the next 12 months, and if there was maybe one key thing we could be doing in finance and accounting to add more value and be performing better, what would that one thing be?
If I really put it down to one, I do think, you use the word collaboration, I do think collaboration is completely where we unlock a lot of potential. We had in Sydney a story the other day, two CFOs engaged with each other. One CFO had rolled out the SAP product with their business and actually has a very similar business to this other CFO. And they sat down with each other, and one CFO basically was there to digest, what that other CFO had been through in terms of the implementation, the watch out points, how they dealt with the consultants, structurally how the system could be rolled out to create value for the business, all these sorts of questions. And of course, this CFO's been around, he knows a lot. It's not to suggest that he wouldn't be able to run an implementation without that insight, but it's that ability to pick up the efficiencies and the insights that other people have that we just can't see because we haven't been through it before. And, that conversation, and this happens all the time. I work on this in Sydney all the time. The introductions I do within our one-on-one piece, the mentorship piece, is all around, where can someone else help you achieve what you're trying to achieve? Where can someone else help you get through a problem or get over a speed hump in what you're working on? And so in these situations, you get this complete immersion into a problem between two people who are really intelligent and prepared to help each other. For the CFO that's giving the information, typically they appreciate that they're seen as someone that's valuable and this advice is useful, and they feel good about that. And it comes down to some really basic human needs of being prepared to contribute to someone else and help them. The other part of them is they also appreciate that person is probably likely to be someone they can call on for some advice on the other side. I've just helped you out. If I'm ever trying to think of an idea that you might be able to help on, I'm sure I could call on you. And this part about tapping into other people in our community, and that's both within our organisation and externally, is something that people can really, I think if they put some energy towards it in the next 12 months, thinking about where those opportunities lie. So if I thought about it internally, that would be, where is value, where is the opportunity to collaborate on things we can create together that help us move forward. And I think externally, where can other people that have been through challenges like we have been through before, where can we tap into their ideas, capture some of that intelligence, bring it to the table really efficiently and adopt it. Now, of course, you have to have some confidence to be able to get out there or leverage your own networks to do that. But I think there's a lot of value in that.
What great advice to share, Brad, because I was thinking when I started, I was getting really frustrated because I thought, all you got to do is work hard and educate yourself, and always thinking, how can I solve this? How can I do this better? And I thought I had great confidence. But then when a mentor showed me, you may be asking yourself the wrong question. Rather than asking, how can I solve this, is who do I need to know that can help me solve this? And I guess there's probably a bit of insecurity in accounting and in finance because we're expected to know all the answers to our technical areas when in actual fact fact, business is really about people. It's about making connections. And that's one thing about the advice you've just given, but also in your book about finding our career sweet spot, which I thought was a really useful idea, particularly for those, quite ambitious amongst us trying to go for the more senior finance positions. In actual fact, the fact that you're referring to some senior finance peoples, we can get it wrong as well sometimes by forgetting to ask who can help. But in terms of career sweet spot, do you mind sort of sharing for our audience perhaps what is it and how they can benefit from understanding it better?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I just want to make a comment around this part about networking and the relationship with others, that the people I've looked at over their careers, they may be introverts, they could be extroverts. There's no commonality between successful finance people and this idea of being an introvert. I really want to highlight that first, because when I talk about some of these ideas, for anyone in your audience that feels they're a little bit reserved and that they're not the sort of people that network or that create relationships, it's probably more about the way you're going about it than the nature of your personality. So I just want to point that out. But the career sweet spot, or this concept that I've come up with, and I've now described it as this CHIN model: clarity, high performance, influence, and networks. And really what it's about is identifying this version of success that's important for you. Now that might change as our life evolves. We have children, or we, something significant happens in our life that changes our perspective on the world, or there's certain things about our ambition that change. But ultimately, this is a framework designed to help people find this version of success, whatever's important to them. And it starts off with clarity, and that let us see. Clarity is about looking at two features in our career. First is internally. So what is it about me that drives me? Who am I? Being self-aware about the things that I'm good at and what I'm not so good at, or where I enjoy spending my energies. And once you understand that, this becomes like this centerpiece of your compass, your career compass. Where do I take that? Where do I take all these strengths that I have, or these values that I believe in, these things that are important to me? And once you appreciate that, then you start to use that compass in that direction. You say, well, what does great look like, this version of success? What are some of the things that I'd like to be doing? How do I understand the functional and behavioral components of someone that is doing what I'd like to be doing in the future? Can I tap into it and really appreciate that, rather than just making a judgment of a job spec, or rather than just making a judgment of what a recruiter tells you? How do I really understand what it looks like to operate at that level in the future, and start to capture that through people and through some experience and playing around with it? So clarity is an evolving piece, but typically for people that are at least clear on that direction, they can build structure around that. The next is performance, or high performance. So it's realizing that two things. Performance is essentially measured or subjective. It's measured in the eyes of the beholder. So when we're in any organization, or when we're in the marketplace, or when we're looking at our career, we need to appreciate that performance that we create, or the way we deliver our role, is directly relevant to this idea of where we're going in the business and what's important to getting there. And the more that you tap into that, and the more that you engage with stakeholders that you create that value for, the more they trust you, the more they appreciate you, the more they'll support and develop you. And it's that whole give and take piece that I talked about a little bit earlier. So realizing that performance is a huge driver to career achievement and attracting more career opportunities is really, really valuable. And that's something that no matter where you're at in your career, if you can take a step back and maybe do this every few months, or when you're on a particular phase in an organization. So what is performance in the eyes of the people I support? Now, sometimes what people feel is great and what you can deliver is not right? So what you start to realize, well, hang on, where is my strength and where is this organization going? This doesn't play to my strengths. In fact, it's an environment that doesn't make me feel good and I can't perform effectively here. Then maybe that's a really good indication that you're not in the right environment to create strong performance. And you start to look at, well, where is it that I can find this sweet spot? Where can I get a balance between where I'm going and where my strengths and performance can be really, really valued? The final two parts are influence and network. So influence is about how you convey your message as a leader. So there's this external component. Now, we're all leaders. We're all influencing others. We're all engaging with others. Regardless of whether we're in accounts payable and dealing with a supplier or a financial,
definitely,
with a financial controller or a finance business partner dealing with the sales and marketing team or whatever it may be, there's always an element of an influence and a need for the other party to come on a journey with us. And realizing that we're a leader as early as possible is very important. Now, that conveying of message helps us in different ways. It can help us, achieve a promotion. It can help us build and collaborate with others. It can help us, message something to a very large audience and a group and take them where they need to go. The second part of influence is our internal influence. So it's looking at resilience and mental toughness. When I talk to a lot of finance professionals, they say to me things like, I'd love to be a CFO or I'd love to do these sorts of things. But then the mental toughness piece falls over. So what they need to do to get to this goal, they're perhaps not prepared to do. They won't go out of their comfort zone to move into places or do things. Perhaps it's they're lacking a little bit of confidence. Perhaps it's the know-how. Perhaps it's, this whole idea of, just generally doing what needs to be done and being prepared to be resilient through some challenges, right? But this whole idea of mental toughness and resilience, resilience is about bouncing back from challenging times and being flexible and malleable in the way that your emotions handle with challenges, and mental toughness, being prepared to achieve a goal. The final piece, going back to that, is bringing this all together, is network. So the sweet spot is we have great people around us that help us achieve. And those people can be within our organisation. They help us get things done. And naturally, in the eyes of those people that you work with, you want to be seen as someone else can add value to them as well. And then also externally. So, talking about the example I talked about with the SAP implementation before, or the mentorship example you used in your own career, Andy, these people that can show us what the other side of the fence looks like. How can we get there a little bit more efficiently? How can we solve these problems in a way that is more effective? And once you get these people around you, you tend to find that the cycle of working on all of those four components typically leads you to a place where you're feeling really rewarded, you're feeling happy, you're probably attracting good opportunity, and you're waking up in the morning excited. Doesn't necessarily mean you're not challenged. In fact, it probably means that you do have challenges and things that you need to do to make a difference. But ultimately, as I said, going back to that clarity and performance component, these are things that invigorate you. These are things that make you excited and happy. So if you can go through that cycle and think about, well, where is it that I might have a deficiency? For a lot of people, there's that issue on clarity. That are they doing things that genuinely make them happy? And testing that and challenging that and getting some feedback around that is really, really powerful. For others, it's network. It's that they haven't invested in their network over their career. They've worked with some really fantastic people early in their career and they've just let them wander off and not maintain a relationship or value that relationship. There's a lot of things that can come unstuck. So my view, typically when you look at that sweet spot concept, is think about within those four areas, what is it that potentially might be a deficiency or might be holding you back from reaching this version of success or career value that you're looking for.
Fantastic framework and so simple. I mean, I think we can all, leave this show and remember the chin, 4 steps that I think we all need to undertake, and I can relate to each one of those in terms of my own career, and I think you've absolutely nailed it in all those elements. Look, I guess you were talking about exciting and rewarding careers there. I think that's what we'd love to see everyone achieve. But from your perspective, what's exciting you most about your work at the moment?
Oh, look, there's a few things that are really exciting me. First of all, I think there's this movement or transition that the finance community is going on, and I love watching it. There's this conversation about challenging the status quo. There's this conversation about robotics, artificial intelligence, the technology that can be adopted and implemented. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's acting on that right now. I don't think we're at that phase, but I can see where that's going. I think the second thing is I'm seeing, and I'm particularly focused in Australia with the work we're doing right now, but CFOs and finance leaders and executives more broadly are getting behind this concept that we're talking about, this collaboration, this idea of going and getting our finance community to really engage in these sorts of ideas. Every time I talk to a finance leader about getting involved in one of our webinars, they're really, really passionate about giving back. And I think sometimes they feel a bit overwhelmed and busy, but when they're given the chance and when they feel like their insights are valuable to others, I can see that it's really working. And I think the other thing is, I'm seeing this with respect to the workshops we're doing in organizations. Businesses are starting, finance leaders are really starting to appreciate the concepts we've talked about today, and realizing that individuals need to drive their own career, and that ultimately they're in the driver's seat, and giving them the tools and giving them the skills and actually investing over a period of time. Not just saying, well, here's this dog and pony show style of workshop, listen to that for an hour, get excited, and you should be fine, and you go and learn, go and apply those skills you've learned. I think they're realizing that if we want to see change, we actually have to invest in it, and we actually have to spend the energy with our people to make a difference. There was a finance leader I work with in Sydney here. We did some work around that change concept and driving career and being the owner of your career, and the team started producing projects and coming up with ideas and working on ways to create value in their business. Now he's actually a little bit overwhelmed. He's like, my God, that this team is now starting to really drive interesting conversations and thinking about the big picture and doing some really cool stuff in our business. In fact, it's making my job a lot more busy because I'm working with my team in a different way now. And I said, well, that's a very good problem to have, right? So they're the things that really excite me. It's the reason I moved out of recruitment from that sort of transactional to a transactional environment to a place where you can really make a difference.
Performer and into the work you're doing, I can see it's delivering a fantastic impact. You've been really brilliant at giving us loads of advice, and actually what I like about it is very practical as well. I think there's nothing in here that any of us aren't able to do. It's not a inborn ability. These are skills that can be learned and just walk through to go on a journey, particularly with our careers, but also for adding value for our businesses. So you've been given the advice, but in terms of people giving you advice, what's the best bit of advice you've ever received, Brad?
Earlier in my life, there was, a bit of advice, which is, if you do what everyone else does, you'll just end up like everyone else. And I think, being part of the pack, there's nothing wrong with being average or general and so on. But at the end of the day, I do think if we're going to stand out and we're going to make a difference, that you just can't do what we've always done. And, I've done that and I've applied that in my own career. To some degrees, there's a lot of risk that comes with that. And I'll be stepping well out of my comfort zone to do that. But that was really good advice to me. And one of the things that when I heard that, I started to look at outliers. I started to look at, what are people in my own field doing that's working, that are really good at what they do and have a great reputation, and how do I start to apply those things rather than, doing what the masses in my field were doing. And I applied that particularly in the recruitment space. One of the things I learned very early was to listen and appreciate that these people are just like you. They have their own career. They have pressures. They have their family. They've got all these things going on in their lives. And if you tap into that and appreciate that, you build a lot of trust and you can support people and help them make better decisions in their career. Now, that takes more time. That takes more effort. That takes far more investment of energy from my end. But ultimately, it made me very, very good at what I did. And, doing that and being different to everyone else and actually paying attention to some of those details was really good advice that I'm glad I took up.
Is there any sort of other comments if you'd like to give?
You've asked around what can people do in the next 12 months. I think there's two pieces I'll talk about there. One is collaboration. So sharing strategies, being prepared to, engage with other people to solve problems, because there's a lot of knowledge and there's a lot of capability in finance that I just don't think we're tapping into.
Oh, so true.
A lot of CFOs have given the advice, one of the best things you can do as an accountant is not be an accountant. And that's not literally, but that's the stereotype, and starting to talk about some of these, this movement away from low value work. So, your career is a huge asset. What you do every day to support, whatever journey you're going on. And I think if you're going to spend 40, 50, 60, 70 hours, some of you put a lot of energy in and invest a lot of time into what you're doing, I think it should be rewarding, and it should be something that you get a lot of satisfaction from. So, regardless of where you're at on that phase, take a look at that chin model, reflect on it, spend some time digesting what's important to you. And of course, if you do need that support, reach out to people that you value in your network to get a little bit of feedback, to get a bit of support. You'll find that others are very willing to help in this community. One of the things I love about the accounting and finance community is when you do actually tap into, and give them the chance to provide and support others, they certainly do. So good luck with that, and I hope everyone got a lot of value out of our conversation today.
So thanks for sharing, Brad, and look, thanks overall for sharing such great practical advice and also relevant frameworks for us to work with. I really like your chin model. I think all of us can benefit from that. I'll never look at a reverse steering bike in the same way again after your explanation. So thanks for sharing that, and I think we'll all be able to build a bit on our strength in the numbers following the show. Should any of our listeners wish to find out more about you or connect with you, where's the best place to find you at?
Oh, look, there's a couple of things. First of all, take a look at our online platform and our webinars. You can find me doing very similar work to what you're doing, Andy. I'm really impressed with what you're doing, and I think you'll get a lot of interest in the interviews you're running. But you can have a look at our website, which is www.theoutperformer.co.co. So not .com for anyone that puts the M on the end. You want to go to our website. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Very happy to engage with people on that platform. I think it's the best place for professional conversations. So just search my name, you'll find me fairly easily. And if anyone wants to talk about their own team and some of the workshops we do, their individual career and what we can do to support those, that particular chin model. That's the model that we use for our career consulting and the work we do to help people navigate through that. If you're looking at mentorship or wanting to think about that in your own life, again, the areas that we can talk about.
Fantastic. Thanks, Brad. I'm going to put all the links on our show notes on the website, sitnshow.com. But before we wrap up, I just want to say thanks again, Brad, for investing the time with us. You've been a fantastic guest. I wish I could spend more, but I really respect you've a business to run as well. So I'd love this to be the first of many catch-ups and, you sharing your thoughts with everyone on this show. So thanks again, Brad, for being with us today.
Anytime, Eddie, and congratulations on all the work you're doing. And I'm very confident that this podcast will be a great success. So congratulations.
So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to know more about our guests today, their bio, and follow up on the resources mentioned during the show, you can find all the relevant links and more at sitnshow.com. There you'll also be able to get access to earlier shows, read the latest blogs. There's also an opportunity to subscribe to our newsletter, which will give you heads up as to when the next show is coming out, latest events, news, and anything that's going to be relevant to help you have a fun, rewarding and successful career in finance and accounting. And just before you go, we really appreciate your feedback. If there's something we can do better on the show, something that's not working, or something you'd like to see, even a guest you'd like for us to invite onto the show, someone who you think might be able to benefit you more and also the rest of our community, please let me know. You can email me. I'm at andrew@sitnshow.com, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Just drop me a message so I know how you found me and we can connect. And really, it's our community that'll make the show. If we keep engaging and driving each other on, we'll keep on building our strength in the numbers. When all is said and done, if we can do the numbers better and finance better, we'll create more opportunities for ourselves, our friends, our families, our communities and our businesses. So until next time, have a good rest of the week, take care, and let's keep building our strength in the numbers.